We'll get started. We have approval for the meeting minutes, and we will approve each one separately. May I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for September 10th, 2015? Any discussion? What? As amended, sorry. Is there any discussion?
No.
Okay.
So moved.
So moved. All in favor? Oh, thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Against? Any abstentions? Thank you. And November 17th minutes, all in favor?
Can
Oh, do I
ask
need?
a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I need a motion to approve, but first I'll just ask Ron.
I just noticed in the minutes that the vote for the definitions was unanimous, but I had abstained, and I didn't see the voting record, so I just, usually you attach the individual votes.
Okay.
I just wanted to note it in the record that
That you abstained? Okay. So what we'll do is we'll amend November 17th minutes, and we'll bring it to the next meeting for approval. Is that okay, Christine? Okay, so we don't need a motion. Great, so we'll move on, and thank you to Ann Phillips, who is back. We all thought she retired, but she's back a couple days a week, so thank you, Ann. Ann, we'll go ahead, legislative updates.
All right, to begin with, I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, OGS hosted a meeting on December 17th to get input on the Procurement Stewardship Act and the Procurement Lobbying Law Sunset and some other topics of interest to the council. The issues that were discussed that day with a mixed group of vendors, some Procurement Council members, other agency members, vendors, representative of various companies, a good group, a very productive discussion, and just wanted to let you know that the points that we covered at that meeting were the Procurement Stewardship Act sunset, the Procurement Lobbying Law sunset, debriefing and dispute resolution processes, procurement thresholds for discretionary pre-audit and advertising, the state contract process, preferred sources, MWBEs, small businesses, recycled and remanufactured product and service disabled veteran-owned business participation in state procurement. As I said, it was a productive meeting. There seemed to be a general consensus, obviously, that both the Procurement Stewardship Act and the Procurement Lobbying Law restriction should continue. And that kind of sends me to my next topic, which we're very timely this year, but executive budget was released yesterday, and both the Procurement Stewardship Act and the Procurement Lobbying Law restrictions were extended. Actually, as proposed, they would be made permanently part of the state finance law, which was, I think, the outcome that OGS and a number of state agencies were looking for, to add a little more certainty to the public process. So if you're interested in seeing them, they're Part I of the Public Protection and General Government Article 7 bill. Obviously, with the legislature back in session, we will be reporting probably at the next meeting about some other pending bills. The session is really too new to have anything else to bring to the attention of the council today, but one of my part-time jobs is to keep OGS and procurement services abreast of what that legislation will be, and before I leave, I'll make sure that everything's ready for the next council meeting. So, thank you.
Oh, we have a question. Go ahead, Michael.
Just quickly, Ann, were there any notes or minutes from that meeting that you could share with the other members of the council who weren't able to attend the December 17th meeting?
I think we're working on. I think we're working on those minutes. It was we used every minute of the meeting. So, and yes, we will share them.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Ann? Oh, go ahead, Ron.
one of the things that I noted in the budget documents yesterday was the increase, or proposed increase in the discretionary threshold, which you mentioned was part of the discussion at the roundtable. And I was just wondering if there's been any thought to, potential impact that might have on other social programs, such as Preferred Source or not have.
I mean, we have raised the discretionary threshold on a number of occasions, and I haven't really seen any spillover in a negative way. It's generally just given state agencies some more latitude and what a lot of people wouldn't think of as the lower end of the purchasing levels, but just to try to make sure that we can keep some efficiencies and economies within that procurement process. Tom?
Yes, I would say SUNY already has a higher discretionary threshold than other state agencies, and because the law is written with the preferred sources, number one, I don't think it's going to have a negative effect. I think it'll just help those agencies with their lower, once they go through the process, they just won't have to bid in a more formal process some of the lower end things. So it shouldn't impact, if people follow the law, it should impact the preferred sources.
I mean, you don't lose the advertising requirements, so, the transparency is maintained. And as Tom noted, you can do something more along the lines of a quote, a formal quote kind of, and hopefully streamline that procurement. But it's still very open, it's very transparent. Initially, when I talked to staff about using discretionary, everybody thinks that it's, I think, wide open and, you're out. But in reality, there are formal processes, and all state agencies have internal controls on those purchases as well as the larger ones.
Yeah, perhaps just for the, I don't know if I'm the only one on the council, but I don't know the discretionary threshold rules and so on. It might be helpful to perhaps have a
We are looking at,
section
there is a discretionary purchase guidelines, and when we looked at this recently in view of the discussion at the roundtable and in light of the legislative change, we're going to be in the process of updating those guidelines. Those guidelines are issued by the Procurement Council, so we'll bring them back there, and I think those would provide the information that you think should be distributed to state agencies and other participants in the procurement process.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll add that to maybe a future meeting for an agenda item.
Sure. Thanks.
Thanks. We're very happy to have with us today Ken Williams and Anthony from Service Disabled Vets. Thank you for coming.
You had quite a first year. Can everybody hear me all right? We've come a long way in the first year. Here we go. Okay, we've come a long way in the first year. As soon as I see my outline, we'll be fine. Doesn't matter. Give me 2 seconds here. No, I don't like notes anyway. The Service Disabled Veteran Act, as you know, it was about a year ago I came here and spoke to everybody, and for the first time, and a little over a year ago, and everything was brand new. We were bringing everything right out of the box, and I'm very pleased to come and say we've done a really, had a really successful first year. By the numbers, we now have 178 businesses certified, which makes us third in the country. California, that's been at it for over 15 years, has more certified firms, and Maryland has more, just a little bit more than we do, and they've been at it for since for 6 years. And so in the first year we've come a long way, and that's a lot due to the help of a lot of agencies and authorities and organizations across the state in helping us to get the word out about the program, to market the program, and let veterans know that this is available. I had the exact numbers down, but in the first year we got the first reports for the second quarter, that's September 30th. We got them towards the end of the year, and it showed that there was over $10 million of awarded contracts and over $6 million of disbursements. And, you know, and we are aware of over $5 million I can't believe I'm nervous, over $5 million of set-aside contracts in process, okay? Set-aside contracts are unique to this program because they can be done in any amount as long as 2 or more service-disabled veteran businesses can be identified. And OGS, Design and Construction, has put out $4.5 million. NYPA has done. We had the pilot rollout last year for fiscal year 15-16 of the 6 agencies and 4 authorities, but to my pleasure, another 9 agencies and authorities were very much engaged with the program, even though they weren't part of the pilot. Among them, SUNY, MTA, and others. And this has been a very rewarding thing to us to see how excited agencies are to get involved with the program and to engage. As a result, for fiscal year 16-17, we have now rolled it out to all agencies and authorities, okay? So effective April 1st, it's open, you know, everybody is. Their goal plans are due to me this Friday, you know, we're up and running and going strong. From a, you know, at the meeting in December that we had, one question was brought up about the you know, what are we doing to check legitimacy and all those good things? And I can, you know, I have, of the 178 businesses that I've certified, I have visited face-to-face at their place of business over 100 of them, okay? And, you know, I am making every attempt to assure that when we certify businesses, not only are they legitimately veteran-owned and, you know, veteran-controlled, and for the purpose of what they're going for, but also that they can perform. Okay, I look at performance characteristics. I have denied 31 businesses certification. A number of them that have been denied have now been certified because I'll go to them and I'll say, okay, we're denying you certification because you're not ready. You know, this is what you need to do. You need to work with this, 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 and this. And then they'll come back after the mandatory 90 working day wait period to come back and reapply, at which time most of them, you know, were successful. You know, there's probably 4 or 5 of them. I don't have the exact number. But the exciting thing for me, I know when I first spoke to you all, I said my goal wasn't a percentage, you know, the 6% is the law, but my goal was to provide opportunity to as many of the certified businesses as we could, okay? And as of September 30th, over 30% of the businesses certified at that time were engaged in New York State contracting. And you know, I don't have the exact numbers, but I know that number has increased, and it will increase more as we roll it out broader. So the exciting things that have just recently happened in December, the governor just signed the $200,000 discretionary spend, you know, which I'm meeting with Ann this afternoon on guidance for that. But, you know, so we're into the regular reporting process. The Q3 reports are due to me soon. And, you know, so the big initiatives are the statewide rollout and the discretionary spend limitation. The things that we're focused on going forward. As you all know, many of you are getting copies of our Excel spreadsheets, and you're going to the ogs.ny.gov website to get the PDF Excel spreadsheet of our list. It is becoming, you know, everybody has been clamoring that this is a very difficult document to search and peruse, and, you know, we're doing the best we can, but fortunately ITS is close now. I hesitate to say weeks, I hope, away from, you know, having our, you know, a user-friendly searchable database up and running. Anybody that's interested, anybody that's not getting our Excel spreadsheets now can just let me know, and we can get you on that list. But once that's up and running, the categories on that are going to match the contract reporter categories, and we're doing things to make things tailor better with the whole search process. Many organizations have been very helpful in engaging. NYS has been, great in working with us, and they now have partners that are service-disabled veterans. I can't say enough for the support we've gotten across the state. And we are looking forward to having this really develop further. I still need help marketing to new businesses, to veterans, to let them know that the program's there. One of the proudest things that we have, and this is thanks to Anthony and Stephen, we averaged 39 working days. We just had an audit, so we ran the numbers, and 39 working days from receipt of application to my decision. That's 39 working days from the date we receive the application till the date I make and that's all over the state, and that's an average, and that in over 70% of the time included a visit from me. So we're turning the applications around quickly, we're doing the due diligence completely, and now I'm more focused on engaging all of the agencies and authorities in the procurement. So, did I miss anything? All right, questions? Yes?
So you mentioned an audit. Who was the auditing body?
Controller.
Have they released a draft report?
No,
Okay.
it's still in process. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And for those that don't know Ken, he's either on 87 or 90, about 4 days a week. So thank you, Ken. We appreciate everything you do, but he is on the road all the time. So next we have with us Kim Miller, who works in the purchasing area of the Business Service Center. Thank you, Kim.
Good morning. As Sue said, my name is Kimberly Miller. I'm from the Business Services Center. Hopefully you've all heard of the Business Services Center by now. We are 3 years old. The Business Services Center was created to centralize finance office and HR functions for state agencies. And at this time, we are conducting purchasing on behalf of 62 executive agencies. And so to give you an idea of what that really means, since October 1st of 2015, so in 2.5 months, the BSC Purchasing Unit has issued over 7,700 purchase orders, totaling $175 million. We take that job very seriously. It's a big responsibility. So what do we mean when we say that we do purchasing on behalf of state agencies? Well, one of our functions is to process what we call standalone purchase orders. Standalone purchase orders are purchases that are made from preferred sources, OGS centralized contracts, and what we call discretionary purchases. And a quick description of a discretionary purchase, although you all probably know as much as if not more than I do, is any purchase that is $50,000 or less for state agencies and $85,000 or less for OGS. And well, that's the general rule, and then we go to the $200,000 discretionary purchases for small businesses, minority women-owned businesses, service-disabled veterans, and then for some particular products, which I'll touch base on in a few minutes. So those are the types of purchases that are considered standalone purchases, and we process standalone purchase orders for them. So generally speaking, the process works like this. An agency identifies a need, and they're responsible for doing the preliminary research for that need because they know best what they want. After they finalize that research, they submit a requisition in the statewide financial system. They attach all of their supporting documentation for the research that they've done in the system, or they've done for the purchase, and then they send that through the process within their agency to get the appropriate approvals for purchase. Once those approvals are received, that requisition gets sent by way of SFS to the Business Services Center. It's assigned to a buyer. The buyer reviews the purchase order to ensure that there's adequate documentation attached and that the purchase as it stands complies with state finance law and procurement council guidelines. The buyer will then work with the agency and the vendor to follow up for any issues or concerns for the procurement record. Once the buyer completes that purchase order, they're responsible at the BSC for actually dispatching the purchase order. So a copy gets delivered to the vendor. With the rollout of what we call EE1, which was the upgrade to SFS in October, there are now 3 methods of delivery for a purchase order. And it depends how the vendor is set up in the system. The first method of delivery is by email through SFS. So that means that once you hit the button to dispatch the purchase order, it automatically goes to the vendor without any interaction by us. This is a huge savings for us, and a really great feature that we got with the rollout of EE1, because when we use the traditional format of issuing purchase orders, which we still need to do for some, we actually have to dispatch the purchase order in SFS, print out a copy, scan it, and then resend it back through our traditional email system. So we save a lot of time and effort utilizing the email dispatch within SFS itself. So I talked about traditional method, which is emailing through Outlook, emailing directly from SFS, and the third method that's currently being used with the introduction of EE1 is which is EDX, where a vendor is established in the marketplace, and so any purchase order that gets sent to that vendor through the marketplace gets sent electronically, and in that instance there's literally no physical purchase order. Data gets sent to the vendor, and the vendor fulfills the order based on the information that they receive it through marketplace and through their EDX transmission. So that is the roles and responsibilities as far as what the agency does for a standalone purchase order, what the business services does for a standalone purchase order. We are also responsible for making change notices to those particular purchase orders, and a change notice is an adjustment to a purchase order that's already been issued for whatever reason. Let's say that you thought you were going to order 3 of something, but you decide you're only going to get 2 and you want to cancel the rest of the purchase order. Agencies send those requests to the BSC. They adjust the purchase order to reduce the amount of the purchase order in the example that I just used, liquidate the funds, and put them back into the agency's budget. We are also taking on more of a role in supporting the purchasing function. So recently there was an announcement that the buy desk at the Procurement Services Group was being transferred to the BSC, and we've completed that transfer. And so the role is a little bit different for the BSC. So in the past, there was this idea or concept that when you submitted a buy desk request at the Procurement Services Group, they would review it and give their okay to pay. The BSC's role is a little bit different for the buy desk function in that the BSC is really operating as a support model for agencies. So one of the issues or concerns that we've heard from our customers is that, since the purchasing function went to the BSC, I don't have those people anymore. I don't have people who are purchasing experts. I don't have people who are knowledgeable about the rules and regulations that go along with purchasing. And so the BSC will be developing and advancing this buy desk concept to be more than what is currently just IT purchases, which is what Procurement Services Group did. And so it's in its infancy stages, but we are looking to roll that out to provide a service essentially where if an agency needs assistance in doing purchasing or doing research or guidance on how to go about doing a purchase, we're going to make that service available to them at the BSC. Another new initiative that the BSC has taken responsibility for is to process agency-specific lease contracts that are negotiated by our real estate planning group within OGS. So there was an initiative for an OGS Center of Excellence in Real Estate, and so to support that initiative, the BSC has taken on responsibility for transactional processing and management of leases within SFS. So our role is essentially to work with the agencies and real estate planning to facilitate the proper establishment, rollout, maintenance, monitoring of that lease transaction. So for leases, an agency is responsible for working with real estate planning, securing lease location, putting together the package to be submitted to OSC along with the B1184 approval. And once they have that package together, they'll communicate with the BSC, and the BSC will essentially set up that contract in SFS. So that seems like a simple process, but it's important that that transaction and that contract gets set up properly for tracking and monitoring. And one of the benefits of having a centralized agency do that is that you allow for consistency and conformity for each and every lease that we set up. So, you know, you'll be thinking about, I have lines for rent, I have lines for electricity, and in the past we haven't always seen that consistency or that clarity to get a good understanding on exactly what we're spending when it comes to lease purchases. So that is one of our goals as we take a role in setting up contracts, rolling them out, and participating in the lease process. So the BSC will actually set up the record in SFS, which means the contract record that gets submitted to OSC. Once it's approved, the BSC will dispatch the purchase order, which allows payments to commence in regard to the lease. They will also be working with real estate planning, real estate development, there is a new real estate module that has come out with EE1 where all of the real estate information will actually be in SFS. So the BSC will be working with real estate planning. This module will allow us to set up payment schedules. And so instead of having to do manual payments every month, we will actually be able to automate some of those payments that, you know, that happen on a reoccurring basis that we really shouldn't or don't need to be, you know, we should be looking at them on an exception basis. So for example, if you're paying rent every single month, you know, unless there's some change, we will automate that process so rent just automatically gets paid until we say otherwise. So there's a lot of advantages that are going to be coming out of the introduction of the real estate module, and the BSC participating and helping and supporting agencies in getting the lease process set up, or reestablished, I should say. One of the other changes that I just want to point out is what BSC does not do anymore is that we no longer administer or agency-specific contracts. So I know we just talked about leases and they are agency-specific contracts, but that's the only exception. So the C contracts, any service contracts that are specific to a given agency, the agencies are handling those contracts themselves, and the BSC does not serve a role in that function. So, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, what we heard from agencies when we took over this purchasing function was, oh, you just press a button in SFS and that's your only job. Really? What's been interesting and something that we didn't realize when we took on this role was we have 62 agencies who are all obligated to comply with state finance law and who are all obligated to utilize Procurement Council guidelines, but lo and behold, there are probably 62 different interpretations and applications of those rules and those guidelines. So the BSC has actually had an opportunity to kind of streamline and to not regulate, because we don't really have any authority to regulate, but to streamline and to establish, I guess, best practices on utilizing, the Procurement Council guidelines and following state finance law. So this is one of the advantages that actually came about from the BSC rollout and taking on, purchase order, the purchasing function that I don't think was initially thought of when we first were set up as part of the centralized finance office function. So here are some of the resources that we use to provide guidance to our agencies and to our buyers as well. So what we've tried to do in this chart, and I would have handed it out to you, but lo and behold, when I started looking at it, I realized that there are probably more than a couple of updates that need to be made on that. So I apologize for that, but at least thank you for getting me to brush it off and take a look and make the effort to make some updates. So this is available on the BSC website, and so if you want to use it as a resource or look at it, please feel you can find it on the BSC website. So what we've done is, this is probably like a 4 or 5 page document, and we've tried to basically in 4 or 5 pages outline the Procurement Council guidelines. And so, you know, what we tell our agencies is, first and foremost, you are obligated to use preferred sources if they serve your form, function, and utility. And so, then if you were to use this chart, you could see all of the different criteria that is required depending on whether you're buying a service, a commodity, or a technology, and then what type of service, commodity, or technology might have a play in that as well. So the matrix can be used to identify what the BSC expects to see in the procurement record if we were to process a preferred source transaction. The next step, if you were not able to find what you were shopping for from a preferred source, or it did not meet your form, function, and utility, you would be expected by law to use a New York State centralized contract. So this next step would be the process or the procurement record that we would expect to see for utilizing a New York State centralized contract. So as you can see, there are a lot of no's on this page, and also on the preferred source page. And so no's mean that requires less effort, and this is a wonderful incentive for agencies to make use of these resources instead of going out and doing discretionary purchase, which requires a lot more research and effort than utilizing the resources that are available and negotiations that are already done by procurement services and the other teams that are experts in doing purchasing. So if your purchase is, if your item or your thing that you're shopping for is not available from OGS centralized contract, the next step is that you're going to do an open market purchase. And so this is where the rules get a little more complicated, but also there's a little bit more flexibility, so it's more subject to interpretation. So this is where the BSC is really working to try and standardize and you know, to work with agencies to encourage them to utilize the same best practices across all agencies. When it comes to discretionary purchases, we talked about it a little bit in the beginning, and you guys are probably more of an expert on it than I am, but you know, when you do a discretionary purchase, it's very important to estimate what the dollar value of your transaction is going to be, because the requirements for purchasing are significantly different based at various thresholds. So, you know, what we say is, if you have a purchase that's $2,500 or less, you know, you're probably just going to need to go out and get verbal quotes and make a judgment call about whether or not you feel that price is reasonable. But as the value goes up, then your responsibility gets a little bit higher. So the next level we set at is the $2,500 to $10,000 purchase. And what the BSC recommends is that you get one written quote, and that you make a judgment call about whether or not that price is reasonable. And of course, all of these purchases must consider your own agency MWBE initiatives, and then you must consider whether or not B1184 approval is required, and we actually have that chart attached in the back for your reference. And the next step would be, you know, we set the threshold between $10,000 and $49,999, which is just below the discretionary threshold for most agencies, with the exception of OGS. And there we recommend that an agency get 3 written quotes to make a judgment about reasonableness of price. And then some of the other rules kick in, and we just try to highlight all of those. So yes, you need a procurement lobbying form. You need approval for MWBE goals if it's over 25,000. So the chart just tries to guide you through, you know, everything that you need to do in order to do that purchase. What I'll also mention is that we talk about getting 1 quote, we talk about getting verbal quotes, we talk about getting 3 quotes. None of that is prescribed in law. These are just recommendations that the BSC uses for agencies as a process to establish reasonableness of price. So it's not required, they don't have to do it, but these were best practices that we're trying to promote to encourage agencies to have a standard and to make sure that they are doing their due diligence, ensuring that the price is reasonable. on a given transaction. once we get above the direct discretionary threshold of $50,000 or more and $85,000 for OGS, then we need to talk about formal competition and solicitations and whatnot. The BSC does offer a service, and that will be part of the BIDES function, but we are currently doing it now. We do offer to do IFBs on behalf of our agencies. So if they have a one-time purchase that's going to result in a one-time payment, so it's not an ongoing service or a construction job where there'll be percentage of completion, all of that. If it's just a standard one-time purchase, we will do a formal solicitation on their behalf, and then compile the results, send it to OSC to get approved, and issue a purchase order so that they can go ahead and make that purchase. So that is a service that we include as well. But agencies that are purchasing services or doing service contracts that are $50,000 or more, they'll be probably writing their own RFPs and putting together the contracts for those and administering those contracts without assistance or support from the BSC. So the other thing that I'd like to mention, again, you probably know as much as I do about it, is that the discretionary purchase is a little bit higher, is not a little bit, is much higher when you look at utilizing small businesses, minority and women-owned businesses, service-disabled veterans, and then all those higher, the $200,000 discretionary threshold limit is actually extended even a little bit further for certain purchases that you make. So recycled and remanufactured goods, I'm sure I'm going to leave out a couple. Most recently, New York State grown food was added. And there's one more thing that I'm forgetting. Can anybody help me out? This is a test. No? Okay. Okay, so commodities that are food, including milk and milk products, grown, produced, or harvested in New York State, as well as purchases made from certified disabled veterans, which we talked about as well. So, we will assist agencies with doing discretionary purchases at the higher thresholds as well. As you know, those require OSC approval when they're over $50,000 in advertising and whatnot. So, there are, they're not the same discretionary guidelines as true discretionary purchase that is $50,000 or less, $85,000 or less. So the last page on our checklist is a summary of what's required as far as B1184 approval is concerned. We do try to ensure that where B1184 is acquired, that is attached to the procurement package and part of the procurement record. So it is just another step that the BSC carries out to ensure that we are complying with the rules and the state's rules and regulations, state finance law, procurement council guidelines, and other initiatives. We make every effort to support all of the initiatives that the state is embarking on. The last page is contact information for the BSC. It's easiest to reach us by email. If you ever have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email the OGS Purchasing Unit mailbox, and we would be happy to get back to you. Are there any questions?
Is BIDES going to be mandatory?
The BIDES will not be mandatory.
So Kim, I just wanted to mention that this chart that you just did, I picked up a nice full-color slick copy of that in a BSC tour once, and it's probably the most thumbed-through document that I have on my desk. I use it probably daily. So if you update that, it would be really helpful if there was a real blast out of that,
Okay.
So that we know to come get a fresh copy of it.
I will do that, and I'm glad you're making use of it. Questions? We also have that chart. Actually, we have it pared down to a one-page checklist, and we offer that to our agencies to use as a guide. Like, all right, I'm going to put my current record together, and they can just use the checklist. Yes, I got this. Yes, I got this. I got this. And that's also available on the website if you're interested in seeing it. So, well, thank you very much.
Any questions for Kim? Sorry, we're going to let you run away.
That's all right.
Any more? No? Nothing? Good. All right, great, thank you. Next, we have Cindy Miner, who is going to give us an update on the 2016 Purchasing and Trade Show Forum.
Hello. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to give you an update on our annual Purchasing Forum and Trade Show. This year, the event will be on May 18th and 19th, and it will be here at the Empire State Plaza as usual. We are happy once again to be working with OSC on some course development, which we're working on now. I can share with you a few things that we've been working on recently. I can tell you that we've sold over 90 booths so far to all of our current contract holders. Last year we did run out of space, and we're hoping to do that again this year, and we're right on track for that. I think we have 120 booths available. The non-contractor registration, which includes, for example, small businesses, the MWBEs, SDBOVs, and the like, will be invited within the next few weeks to start booking booths for the concourse area. This year, as is in previous years, exhibitors are going to be encouraged to join us on their load-in day, which is the day before the purchasing forum begins. So that would be May 17th. We offer a meet and greet reception, and we put our exhibitors in contact with some important procurement resources. It gives them an opportunity to meet their OGS contract manager for their centralized contracts, and it also gives them an opportunity to network with each other. So that will happen again this year. The attendee registration will open in the spring, and we plan to announce that on our website, the purchaser notification system, social media, and any other way we can possibly think of to let people know about this opportunity. Last year, as a way to increase traffic for our exhibitors at the trade show, we initiated a giveaway which was based on a Meet the Exhibitor game, actually, and it was quite effective and well received, so we're going to do that again this year. People love to win stuff, so we'll do that again. We're going to record our classes again so that the videos are on our web as they have in previous years. So there's still a lot to do, and we're going to continue to keep working on this. I hope that you all take advantage of the opportunity to come to the forum and encourage as many people as you can to attend, and to keep checking our website and for future information, because we want everyone to come and get what they need to out of that. So is there any questions about the Purchasing Forum and Trade Show before I move on? No. So
There's one, Cindy.
oh yeah.
With the EE1 upgrade, I mean, the major challenge for our agency is, again, the whole purchasing process has seemed to have changed. So what the class for regarding EE1 regarding
Yep.
purchasing?
Yep, and we're considering making it the 90-minute class so that there's a lot of time for it. Anything else? No. So I also wanted to take this chance to tell you about a
Hold on, Cindy.
I'm sorry.
Cynthia, I just wanted to let you know, if you email me these, I can post them on the contract reporter.
Yes, we're going to do that. We have an email already drafted for you. So you'll be hearing from me. Another thing that I wanted to take a chance to tell you about is Procurement Services is going to be putting on like a roadshow type of event. It's our intention to travel throughout the New York State to bring training to our authorized users. One thing that we keep hearing from our users is that they need more information, and so we're going to try to give that to them. This initiative goes above and beyond the purchasing forum, and it goes above and beyond the 30 outreach events that we already do. We plan to visit at least 10 different regions throughout the state. The first event is going to be held here in the Capital Region on February 10th. That will be held in meeting rooms 2 and 3 right here across the hall. It is our intention to make this initial session available via a webinar. The exact location of future events hasn't been finalized yet. We're really moving fast with this initiative, so our goal is to get the February event planned as we continue to work on some of the other regions and where within those regions we're going to actually be able to hold this training. Information will be available on our website in the coming weeks on that issue. These trainings are all about our authorized users. As I said, we've heard from them and they want to know more. Some of the things that we want to cover is really who is OGS Procurement Services and what do we do. The e-marketplace is a new initiative and we want to explain that to people as well. And of course, all the new IT contracts, we're going to provide, I would say, pretty in-depth training on how to use those contracts. We're in an attempt to just answer as many questions as we possibly can. We are going to be available before, during, and after the event. So, in other words, people that are giving the IT training, while they're giving their IT training, we'll have people available outside the classroom. So if you want to ask specific questions, we're hoping that our users will take advantage of that. As another thing that we're trying to do is during the registration process that we have set up, we're asking people what is it that you would like us to teach you so that we can really tailor each region's issues and try to really answer their questions in their area of the state. We really hope that you would check our website periodically because we are going to post a lot more information about this. We're also going to, again, use our purchaser notification system, our social media, and again, any other distribution list that we have at our disposal to get the word out to all of our local government and agencies so that they can take advantage of this opportunity. Does anybody have any questions on this new outreach initiative that we're working on?
Cindy?
Yeah.
So I understand that grants is not really the OGS arena. However, recently we're moving our MWBE purchasing out within our grant processes also. So I'm wondering if this would be an opportunity to teach the local organizations a little bit about MWBE purchasing and how they can find certified entities, et cetera. So I don't know if there's a possibility of adding a little bit of that to the presentation.
I actually think that there's way more things to train on than I have time for, but we're going to, yes, absolutely, we'll consider adding that in. It's so hard. There's so many things that these local governments just don't know. So, and it could be that we reach out to more than 10, or maybe we do another session if we can't cover all the topics that we find out they need. Maybe we'll go back a second time. So I'll make note of it and see what I can do. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Our next presenter is Michael Elmendorf, who will do a Corecraft presentation. Thank you.
I was going to say good morning, but now it's good afternoon. I just want to say thank you to the Procurement Council for giving all the preferred sources a chance to address them. Corecraft's vision is to be the leading industrial program in the nation, known for innovation and continuous improvement by integrity, teamwork, premier customer service, and outstanding products. The department's mission seeks to address the needs of all its offenders so they can return to their communities, be prepared, and lead successful crime-free lives. Teaching offenders the need for discipline, respect, and the importance of mature understanding of work ethic and directly related to the department's mission. Corecraft employs offenders in real work situations, producing quality goods and services at competitive pricings, delivered as required by its customers at a minimal cost to taxpayers. At the present time, Corecraft employs about 2,000 inmates, which is about 4% of the population throughout our correctional system. Corecraft provides the necessary resources for a real work environment where opportunities are available to learn marketing skills and work habits, including the soft skills necessary to achieve success and enhance the employability upon release. Corecraft strives to develop a strong work ethic to our offender employees to motivate each to seek and maintain employment and become productive citizens upon reentry. CoreCraft has many sales focuses other than our own department, which is our biggest customer. One of our other second busy customers, New York City. The agency down there is called DCAS, which stands for the New York City Government, the Department of Citywide Administration. They oversee most of the purchasing, as does OGS at this point. CoreCraft continually is in contact with major purchasing people at these agencies down there, such as sanitation, fire department, police department, Department of Transportation, Human Resources, and the New York City Housing Department. CoreCraft also is involved very much with New York State agencies, as OGS knows, and we strive to the individual agencies to better understand their product needs and to ensure a clear understanding of preferred source purchasing and agencies' internal programs to promote preferred sources. We try to maintain contact with our existing customers to track openings and future needs and to monitor our future product needs. Agencies served by these different sales representatives throughout the state. We have 9 sales representatives throughout the state. Some of the agencies, as you know, are DOT, OGS, Workers' Comp, OTDA, which is the Office of Temporary Services, New York State Police, Office of Mental Health, the Central Purchasing Unit, Office of Children and Family Services, Homeland Security, and Office for the People with Developmental Disabilities. We also are involved in the academic markets. Sales and marketing management try to participate in high-level purchasing meetings with the SUNY personnel, purchasing management, to strengthen relationships and to get top-level information on how CoreCraft can best meet SUNY's needs. Sales representatives participate on different various times throughout the state in the SUNY conferences and CUNY conferences. Our sales representatives do call upon the campuses, but each individual campus has different purchasing policies. So it's important that CoreCraft's messages to the individual campus is there for the purchasing people. Sales representatives, once again, are assisted with the CUNY programs and directed to the SUNY and CUNY markets through our conferences. We also are involved in the secondary school markets. One of the biggest markets for us is New York City, as is obvious. We respond to their incoming inquiries to the districts through BOCES and expeditiously with product information so we can meet their demands and quotations. We build awareness by participating in selected trade shows for secondary business officials and buildings and grounds officials. Some of the highlights for us, we hope, in 2016 will be that we'll begin our phase 2 of our website improvement. This improvement will help the ability to provide more product information and images to our customers. It will also allow us to gather information on product usage and help enhance our marketing with specific customers. We'll begin transition to an updated and integrated enterprise reporting program, ERP. Our current Matrix program will become N4. This will improve our aspects of product production, including manufacturing, delivery, and quality control. Our chemical sales continue to grow, and we have begun expansion of our manufacturing capabilities for a number of chemical products at Great Meadow facility. For example, in 2016, we plan to double production of our diesel exhaust fluid. This will allow us to provide our customers even more competitive pricing and help our gross sales. In 2016, we also see an increase in our textile sales. We predict increases for some of our major customers and have made plans to increase capacities. Overall, we can see a continued growth in 2016 and look forward to another solid year of performance at CoreCraft. Thank you. Questions?
Any questions? Nope. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Our next presenter is Mr. Ron Tascarella from the National Industries for the Blind, NIB.
First, let me thank you for giving us the opportunity to address the Procurement Council this morning. As you know, I serve as chair of the board for New York State Preferred Source Program and am the legislative appointee to the Procurement Council. Our mission is to enhance the opportunities for economic and personal independence for persons who are visually impaired. To give you a little history on it, after New York State became the first state to enact a program designed to give preference to products made by agencies employing blind, Industries for the Blind was formed to facilitate the state use program. In 2012, That designation was transferred to National Industries for the Blind. Our goal is to provide employment opportunities for New Yorkers who have been traditionally unemployed. 70% of all individuals who are blind are unemployed. We have 9 affiliated agencies and employ over 450 New Yorkers who are blind across the state. We sell over $40 million in products and services annually to the state, city, and local governments. We pay at least minimum wage and provide full benefits. Our sales are primarily in the areas of office supplies, janitorial products, maintenance, and operations, health and safety items. In addition to rehabilitation and employment training and placement, our affiliated agencies operate modern manufacturing plants, state-of-the-art call centers, warehouse and distribution centers. Together with our agencies, we align the skills and desires of workers or working New Yorkers and the procurement needs of New York State, local and city governments. There are countless stories in New York of those who, as a result of the program, have gained financial independence and found meaningful careers. We are excited about the future of the program and the benefit it provides New Yorkers and state customers. We are positioned for continued growth in 2016, benefiting from a supportive engagement team at New York State Office of General Services. Through recent inclusions in New York State contracts, such as the upcoming centralized office supply contract and preference in e-commerce platforms like the e-marketplace and SUNY office supply website. The Preferred Source Program hopes to continue to increase compliance of New York State's finance law. OGS has made concerted efforts to further promote our program by directly prompting agencies to engage us and by having a comprehensive Preferred Source training session at the annual purchasing forum. We will continue to develop and submit new products to OGS for approval to expand the Preferred Source offering. We are also increasing our focus to offer more services and secure more service contracts. Service professionals include call center agents, mail fulfillment specialists, warehouse and distribution staff. These are typically higher paying and create more full-time opportunities. They also allow many state customers the flexibility of having services performed at their locations or ours. Through adaptive technologies and innovation, our people are competing and succeeding in a highly competitive environment. In 2016, we will also continue to look for additional ways to partner with New York State, small business, minority and women-owned businesses, and service-disabled veterans. These partnerships not only create synergies between important business sectors, but also provide a benefit to New York State procurement. We have started a formal strategic planning initiative to help shape our direction and focus for the future. We will seek the input of all of our stakeholders and find ways to advance our mission to better serve government customers. We are optimistic about the program and proud of the partnership with New York State. We count on the state and OGS to continue their efforts to promote and educate state government about our program and to include us in future statewide initiatives so we can reduce leakage and better fulfill our mission. A lot of progress has been made, but more certainly remains. We look forward to working with OGS, Commission for the Blind, and other public policymakers to further the spirit and intent of Section 162 of the state finance law. Those were my prepared remarks, but I did want to take just a minute before I step away. You know, I think something always seems to get lost to me because you look at a 70% unemployment rate amongst the blind, and there's so many channels that we need to explore to lower that number. I had a conversation one time with someone from another country, it's not important, but they were struck by our efforts to provide employment for the visually impaired. Their approach was, we take care of our disabled. Being visually impaired, and he meant it in the kindest way, so I'm not looking to be negative on his remarks, but being visually impaired, I never wanted to be taken care of. I don't think anybody gets self-esteem, an ability of self-worth by being taken care of. They get that from providing for their family, working in their community, and being a part of something greater. For better or worse, employment leads a lot to those outcomes, which makes somebody proud and makes somebody feel vital with their life and in the lives of others. This program provides one of those avenues to lower that 70%. It allows somebody a start in a career that you hope, like all of us when we start our employment, we move up, we're promoted, and we succeed and provide countless opportunities, not only to ourselves, but again, to our family, our friends, our community, by what we're able to give back. And when you see those lives change, you really get a better impact of what this program does for others. And my prepared remarks, to me, don't hit in a personal way the effect you have on the lives of so many people in New York. And you might look and say, 450, gee, is that enough? Remember, that's 450 in the program. That doesn't count the people who started in the program and moved on into the private sector, built a resume, and were able to start and do more. This program has helped many people, many more than 450, and it'll help many going forward. On that, I'm just going to open it up for questions.
Any questions? Oh, here's one. Margaret?
Hi, good morning. I just don't have a question. I really just wanted to tell you how inspiring it was to hear you talk about the difference between a handout and a hand up. And I hope that as New York State continues to provide the resources, we can do more in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Any additional questions or comments for Ron? Oh, great. Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Ron Romano from the New York State Industries for the Disabled.
I'm not sure how you follow that, but I'll give it a shot. As the others said, thank you very much for giving us the time to explain a little bit about what we do. Again, I'm Ron Romano. I'm President and CEO of NYS. And our mission, similar to what you've heard from others, is turning business opportunities into jobs for New Yorkers with disabilities. And this mission is accomplished, as you know, through the mandate of Section 162 in the state finance law, whereby providers are afforded preferred source status for purposes of procurement to advance social and economic goals for, in this case, individuals with significant disabilities. And, you know, I think this program is unique in that it concentrates on increasing employment among a population that has significant challenges to employment, as you heard Ron mention. Which is why, one of the reasons why it's exempt from competitive bidding, but we're still required to have competitive pricing. I just realized I don't have the clicker, so.
Yep.
Again, as Ron mentioned, and there's supposed to be a chart that goes along with that, but the chart would display, as you've heard, that individuals in the working age between 22 and 65, only 26.6% of those with disabilities are employed, versus 72.5% of those without disabilities. Stated differently, if this room only contained individuals with significant disabilities, 3 out of 4 of you wouldn't be employed. So you wouldn't be here. It would be a fairly vacant room. The next slide, and again, I think that the people who are employed in this program say it better than I do. So I'd just like to take a moment, if it's going to work, to view a video that we prepared last year, which further explains our mission and the individuals that we serve. And we were...
For 40 years, NYSED has been...
No, go ahead, please.
...been turning business opportunities into jobs for New Yorkers with disabilities. These individuals historically experience the highest rate of unemployment of any sector of workers.
NYSED, New York State Industries for the Disabled, is a not-for-profit organization. It's important today, and it has been important for the last 4 decades that we've been in existence, because individuals with disabilities who are working age are only employed at a fraction of those that are non-disabled. And individuals with developmental disabilities here in New York State are even at a lower percentage. So it's extremely important to do what we do in trying to create these job opportunities.
NYSED brings job opportunities to training and employment programs at not-for-profit community rehabilitation member agencies. Many of these projects are in collaboration with private sector business partners, including certified minority and women-owned businesses. All of this benefits New Yorkers and the Empire State. Established in 1975, NYSED annually creates preferred source contract jobs for nearly 7,000 New Yorkers who otherwise experience barriers to employment. NYSED contracts provide jobs in janitorial, document imaging, industrial laundry, mailing services, and electronics recycling, among other business services. We also ensure jobs working on custom apparel, custodial products, food items, and other goods. In turn, NYSED jobs meet the procurement needs of New York State government agencies, county and city governments, higher education, and school districts. NYSED jobs offer a choice of facility or community-based employment, respecting individual growth and independence. We are at work in almost every New York State county and also have a strong presence in the city of New York, where more than 200 individual contracts for business services are currently underway and nearly 2,700 local residents are employed. Numerous NYSED contracts have endured for decades, providing secure, long-term employment for preferred source workers. We are proud of the individuals who work on our contracts. Over the years, we have honored 13 of them with our prestigious William B. Jocelyn Outstanding Performance Award and named another 32 individuals Employee of the Year for the respective jobs well done.
But the one thing that I do know is that we are getting better at doing the right thing. We are getting better at finding people meaningful employment in the community where they belong. And I also feel very strongly that the road to success will be through NYSED. And if we keep that partnership in focus, then we will succeed in doing what we're supposed to do, find meaningful life experiences and opportunities for people with disabilities. Thank you very much.
And you know, each one of those is moving in its own way to see how an individual has gained independence and self-worth and dignity. As an example, one of our most recent success stories that we honored at our annual meeting in 2014 was a young man named Eduardo Lopez, who works on one of our contracts in New York City. He's one of 12 children Several of his brothers and sisters also had disabilities. As he describes it, he had to become a man at an early age, and this job allowed him to provide for his brothers and sisters. We are extremely proud to work with our member agencies, corporate partners, and 7,000 New Yorkers that work on NYSED contracts to provide a better New York and change lives one job at a time.
Employment provides individuals with disabilities the integrity that comes from being productive, earning an income, and supporting local economies as contributing residents of the Empire State. On behalf of all New Yorkers with disabilities working and thriving through NYSED Preferred Source contracts, thank you for your continued support.
I work really hard. I like my job.
Okay. So for an update, if you could go to the next, there we go. In 2015, again, that video was made last year, for the 12 months between July 1 and June 30, NYSED member agencies participating in the Preferred Source program employed just over 7,000 people. It's the first time we've cracked 7,000 in our history. These consist of 1,450 people approximately that work on our products, and nearly 5,600 folks that provide services for the state of New York and local governments. These folks earned $59, almost $60 million in wages, which is significant for these individuals as well as their communities. They worked $4.2 million and had a weighted average hourly wage of $13.98 an hour. So in short, these are meaningful jobs to these individuals. As of September 30, again, our 2015, our fiscal year, NYSED had 168 members, including 119 community rehabilitation agencies, or what we refer to as traditional members, and 49 corporate partners, some of which you've heard Ken earlier talk about. We have now a veteran disabled-owned business as a partner, as well as MWBEs. All of these organizations are approved by New York State Education Department, our designating agency prior to becoming a NYSED member, and a total of 124 members performed on preferred source contracts in 2015. NYSED, as the facilitating agency for its 168 members, provides ongoing business supports, and these includes things such as marketing, sales, contract administration, warehousing and logistics, business development, quality assurance, monitoring of compliance, as well as member training and technical assistance. And we've jumped to the next slide, and basically what these items are is that we also provide some additional development support to our member agencies. So we've had an e-commerce site for the past 10 years that we developed on our own in order to sell preferred source products that are produced by our members. We've also worked, in collaboration with OGS this past year, or almost two, I guess, on the e-marketplace with Perfect Commerce. We've worked with SUNY Central and with their EPS system, as well as SUNY Stony Brook with their SideQuest system in order to become more effective and sell some of the products that are produced by our member agencies electronically. We also, as I mentioned, provide training to our members and warehousing. The training is basically provided free of charge to members across New York State. You have a copy in the folder that I handed out of our catalog for the first 6 months for 2016s, and you can take a look at it when you get a chance. We also, as I mentioned earlier, operate a 50,000 square foot warehouse facility in Johnstown, New York, where we purchase our members' items so that we have inventory to fulfill orders when they're received. It's also much more cost effective to bundle the orders and to ship them to the purchasing agencies. In terms of CREATE, which stands for Cultivating Resources for Employment with Assistive Technology, we've developed a program of collaboration between colleges and universities in New York State and NYSED member agencies to remove barriers in the workplace. It also serves an ancillary purpose, and that is to expose engineering students to real-life experiences, and perhaps to real-life experiences that they might not get otherwise with individuals, working with individuals with disabilities as part of their coursework. This year we'll be sponsoring 10 CREATE projects in 2016. Last year was our first year of actually putting on a CREATE symposium, whereby the students, faculty, and NYSED members, agencies were given the opportunity to display and demonstrate their projects. We held that in April of last year in the Legislative Office Building. We hope to do the same again this year. We also, as Ken Williams mentioned earlier, we support veterans and have for many years as part of our mission. And during the past 5 years, we've actually conducted veteran summits, including veteran organizations to participate in explaining their mission and the challenges they face to their colleagues. What it is a giant networking opportunity that we hold at NYSED offices. As a result, we've also established a veterans contact database on our NYSED website. Last year, I should say at our last Veteran Summit, which was December 2nd, we received a letter, it's also in your packet, from Governor Cuomo, applauding the fine example of partnership and cooperation shown by everyone associated with NYSED, and recognizing NYSED as a resource that connects people with disabilities, including veterans, with the right job in the right environment, allowing them to find greater independence and fulfillment, both professionally and personally. In addition, on the veterans front, we also sponsor Battle Buddy centers. We currently have 10 locations throughout New York State, and basically this is a room where returning veterans can support other veterans in a peer environment, whether it's about school, when many of these rooms are located at community colleges where veterans are now attending, or home or employment. It's a safe place for these folks to go and continue the camaraderie that they've had when they were serving. And lastly, one of the other things that we've developed is our community support program, which NYSED provides support in the form of time and money, primarily to nonprofit agencies, organizations that provide direct services in the community in the areas of education and vocational development, human services, and civic organizations. The best example of this past year, which was our 40th anniversary celebration, which we called NYSED Works. It was a project where 25 member organizations and nearly 300 individuals from Buffalo to Long Island participated in a day of work performing beautification projects in their communities, and as a way to say thank you to New York State for supporting the Preferred Source program over the past 40 years. And I know from our folks in our office, we did a project in Schenectady at the My Center with Schenectady ARC. It was a landscaping project, and it was actually I think one of the best team building projects we've ever done. So my staff wants to do it again, and we may do it this year. But that was one of our community support programs. So the Preferred Source program focuses on providing integrated employment to New Yorkers with disabilities that are grossly underemployed. Our member agencies provide products and services, thereby affording choice in the work that these individuals perform. And as such, the next slide. I think it's important, and one of the charges of the council in redefining the preferred source offerings for the 21st century, I think it's important that the council ensure that these definitions, as they have thus far, are not so narrow that they eliminate meaningful opportunities for those that may not have another opportunity. Similarly, in determining, reasonable costs and market price, and pursuing the current application process and benchmarking of pricing, I think it's important to do so in concert with the intent of the preferred source law, and also with the implementation of the governor's leaning process in mind, so that hard-fought opportunities for employment are not lost because of red tape. In order to continue at our current levels of success, all parties, must, and we've heard this earlier, and we do appreciate everyone's collaboration, and must work together to streamline the processes and collaborate on the problems in order to create meaningful employment for individuals with significant disabilities. And there's one more, and that's a big thank you. As others have noted, we thank you for all you do in helping us make this program successful. As I mentioned, I did pass out a folder. There's a timeline in there about our history. There's a booklet about our Joslin Award that you heard about earlier, the people that we recognize. And probably most importantly, there's another video or a CD in there of several videos that really show the impact and the meaning of what this program does for individuals with disabilities. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions? Comments? Okay, great. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I'd just like to say a special thank you to all three individuals who spoke on behalf of CoreCraft, NYSID, and NIB. And, basically, they were very informative, but also very inspiring. And I think I speak for many when I say thank you for the work that you do. I don't know how we follow that, Christine, so. There you go.
I echo those sentiments and thank you all. We are continuing our work. Ron mentioned the Procurement Council preferred source definitions. We are continuing our work on that. I was hoping to have a series of definitions for you to approve at today's meeting, but we haven't been able to pull those together just quite yet. I do expect we will have several different rounds of definitions that will be ready for our next Procurement Council meeting, which will be in May. So I look forward to having those to you in advance so that you can look at them, comment, and get back to us so that we can continue to move forward. What we've done so far has been very helpful. the second item I have is preferred source applications and new applications. I have no new applications. I assure you, we are still processing applications, but it's all for work that's already been approved. So we're just continuing to do that, and we will continue to do so. As new applications come up, we will keep you posted. That's all I have. Thank you.
We're now in the moment of the meeting for open discussion. Are there any questions or issues you would like to discuss open? Yep.
Related to the preferred sources, would it be possible in a future procurement? Oh, is that better? Oh, sorry. With the discussion on the preferred sources, would it be possible to get in one of the future meetings a presentation by both state education and OGS as the process that they do of reviewing the applications from the preferred sources, so we get more of a background as to what that entails? And then as another topic is with preferred sources now partnering with minority-owned businesses and service-disabled businesses as to what that process is, because that would help, help agencies as to how that's defined. I don't know if there's a formal process as to when we go to procure with the preferred source as to the opportunities with MWBEs or service-disabled companies.
Okay, no, I think that's a good idea. We can look at that for the next meeting or so. In fact, I mean, it's interesting, but the procurement, our process for approving is being leaned next week. So we may have an updated one by that time. So, no, that's a good idea. Anything else for discussion? Nope. Okay, great. Our next meeting is Wednesday, May 11th, right before the procurement forum. We look forward to seeing you then. Do I need to motion out? Oh. Can I have a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Oh, sorry, I need a second. Thank you, Michael. I can always turn to you for a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstention? Great, thank you. Everyone have a good day.